There's a lot of anxiety in the real estate market right now, both in Puerto Rico and on the mainland. And as a real estate investor with over 26 years of experience, and we've done thousands of deals, I can tell you with great certainty that some areas are going to go bust and other areas are going to go boom. And these are my thoughts on which areas will be crashing and which won't on the island of Puerto Rico. So here's my take, based on lots of different data points: liquidity in the island, migration to or from the island, and one good thing that we're seeing on the island is new construction. That's something that we hadn't seen for a long time. So I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm going to give it to you like this. I'm going to go bearish, bullish, and I'm going to talk about different areas on the island of Puerto Rico. So let's get started. Number one, I'm going to go bearish here. I'm talking about Condado. This is an affluent suburb of San Juan, and I'm going to be bearish on it. And guys, that doesn't mean Condado is crashing as a whole and that you can't buy or sell and be successful. But I feel like certain price points and luxury settings are overextended. I also think that the tourism in this particular area has exploded. So there's tons of Airbnbs on the market, and I see things that I'd rather be selling than buying in Condado. And here's why. Prices have gone through the roof, and they're too high, and they got there too fast. I think that the amount of cash buyers coming to the island in 2025 has been much slower than what we were seeing like from 2021 to 2023, maybe even 2024. We're seeing inventory sitting longer. And we've even seen some tourism numbers soften in certain pockets. There's an awful lot of short-term rentals chasing the same traveler. Now, you're always going to have demand for the premium spot, that beautiful condo on the beach. But some of these high-end condos down in Condado, they seem that they're priced just on hype. And hype alone, that's a dangerous place to be priced at. So what I believe we're going to see with these super high-end condos is downward price pressure in the very short term. But guys, just because I say that about Condado, that doesn't mean that I don't think that you can invest there and make money. We actually just closed on a nice value-add condo in Condado that's not one of these super high-end posh places, so it's not going to sell for $2,000 a square foot, but we were able to buy it at a low price because it needed such a heavy lift and all kinds of work. Basically, it's a shell of a property that's been sitting there vacant for 10 years, only being lived in by the pigeons, and we bought it for about $510,000. It's 2,350 square feet. So it's a big, nice apartment, and we're going to make it super, super nice. And then we're going to put it back on the market. And where the super high-end posh apartments are selling for $1,000 to $2,000 a square feet, we can ask like $600 a square feet and make a freaking mint. Guys, this is just good investing. So we like to invest at the feet of all of really expensive, high-dollar investors out there. And we're seeing high rises go up in Condado, and they're expecting to sell at a couple $1,000s a square feet. We're even seeing that they're selling out before they build, but what we haven't seen is those transactions actually close. So I think that the play is to buy the low stuff that you can do the value add on and then sell it towards the medium part of the market, or maybe even the lower end part of the market. Not that $600 a square foot isn't high end. It certainly is, but it's not as outrageous as $2,000 a square foot. Number two, let's go bullish here. Rincón. This is a lifestyle play plus a little bit of scarcity, and you've got tourism. Guys, I like Rincón so much that I moved from San Juan over to the west side of the island so that I could be closer to the west side of the island and Rincón specifically, because I want to deploy more capital there. And Rincón has one of the strongest lifestyle markets on the entire island of Puerto Rico. And here's why. You've got strong tourism, you have a limited supply, and you have high demand from locals and stateside movers alike. What does that mean? That means if you invest over there and you've got an Airbnb, you have both local tourism and tourism coming from off island, because everybody hears that Rincón is the place to be. Plus, you've got the surf culture, and they're going to be here year-round. And you still see the high-end buyers coming in and buying over there. There aren't as many value-add opportunities necessarily in Rincón, but there's still plenty of them. So when you can buy something that needs a whole bunch of work, you've got a really good chance to make some money. You don't have to love the beach town, but you can't ignore Rincón's fundamentals. It's steady, it's in demand, and guys, it's not going anywhere. Number three, bearish. Dorado. Specifically, Dorado Beach East. And let me be clear, I'm not talking about regular old Dorado. Dorado itself isn't crashing. But I'm talking about the ultra high-end stuff, the most expensive real estate on the island of Puerto Rico. We're seeing cracks. You've got fewer people coming to the island for Act 60. You see the high-end buyers have pulled back on what they're willing to pay for right now. And, guys, Dorado Beach East, it went parabolic. When I first came to the island of Puerto Rico, the very most expensive house on the island in Dorado Beach East had recently sold for $14 million. Last year, a house sold for $44 million, and I think that house is back on the market now for around $25 million. That's a pretty big hit. That's why I'm a little bit bearish on Dorado Beach East. Guys, I don't buy $20 million houses, and probably you don't either, so this really doesn't affect us, but I'm telling you where I'm bullish and where I'm bearish. So there you have it. And right now we've seen these high-end buyers becoming more selective, not just on the island of Puerto Rico, but all across the mainland as well. So also in Dorado Beach East, we've seen inventory creeping up, and we know that these ultra high prices that they were getting in COVID, I mean, they were ridiculous. They just weren't sustainable, and so we're seeing them pull back. And buyers are still stubborn. They want to get all the money in the world, but they're maybe going to have to settle for half of the money in the world. We'll see. Dorado's always going to be elite. But the very top of the market, I expect price adjustments. Number 4, I'm bullish. Cabo Rojo. Cabo Rojo's got something special that many Puerto Rico markets don't. It's got true local demand plus strong tourism. So here's why I'm so bullish. People want to live in Cabo Rojo. Their tourism industry, it's growing like wildfire. They don't have a whole bunch of short-term restrictions, so you can invest in Airbnb if you'd like to. It's fairly affordable even to this day. There's a strong workforce housing opportunity as well. And investors can right now still find cash flow deals. And let me tell you the most exciting thing that I see in Cabo Rojo, and the one that really makes me super, super bullish. There's about to be a couple of $1 billion invested in this town of Cabo Rojo, and they're going to create something like Dorado Beach East, only it's going to be brand new. Live, work, play. So they're going to have all of the shopping. They're going to have all of the luxury houses. They're going to bring in the high-end tourism stuff. So they're going to have all of the $1,000 a night hotel rooms that you can imagine over there. I love to make this play, guys. Whenever I see or hear about these super wealthy real estate investors going into an area and buying up big tracts of land with massive, huge plans, which is what the Rubin brothers are doing in real time right now in Cabo Rojo. Me, as a little guy, and you, maybe as a value-add real estate investor, ought to pay attention and go in and buy at their heels. I'm not trying to compete with the Rubin brothers. Hell, I don't have a chance to compete with them. Their pockets are so deep, I don't even know what to say about it. But what I can do is I can invest in the smaller plays, the smaller projects that they're not going to even have on their radar. Let's move on to number 5. Let's go bearish on this one. And I'm going to not name a specific town for this one, but I'm going to pick on Airbnb, specifically overbuilt Airbnbs that are island-wide. This isn't a single city, this is a pattern. I'm bearish on these condominium buildings where they've got a whole bunch of individual Airbnb owners, and those Airbnb owners are fighting with each other to the bottom because they've overpopulated area that they're in with Airbnbs. 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was a massive need for these properties to be invested in and brought back to life. Now, everybody went crazy with the Airbnb thing, and I think that there is a lot of downward pressure on that. We've seen it in our hospitality portfolio that our nightly rate has gone down slightly rather than up, and we've got some pretty special properties. So if you've just got a mom and pop one-off Airbnb in a tower where there's 25 other Airbnb units and yours looks just like the others, why is someone going to choose you? That's why I'm bearish on this type of real estate investing. I'm also bearish on this because I've seen other people coming to the island and actually investing in condos that I'm talking about based off of revenues that they're going to get from Airbnb projections. Guys, I've never liked that business model. On all of our Airbnb units, we did value add stuff. So we would take an office condo and turn it into a hotel, or we would take a distressed house and fix it up and make it a bed and breakfast. That allowed us to make a nice multiplier on our money. And we were actually, when we first came to the island and getting involved in hospitality, we would back into the number and we would buy something at a really cheap valuation because it needed a ton of work. We would then do the value add, put it through Act 60, get 40% tax credits. That was a great investment for us for a long time. What I don't like is those mom and pop individual Airbnbs that all look the same and people buying those properties based off of projections, not even legitimate like books, but hey, it was a rental property and it rents for $1,000 a month, but if you put it on Airbnb, you can get $3,000 a month. Well, maybe, but I would still buy the damn thing based off the $1,000 a month that you know you can get, and that way you can stay safe. If you get the extra money because you put it on nightly rental sites, that's good on you and it's good for you. But if you buy it based on what you're going to make on Airbnb because someone's selling you a dream and they can't prove the books, guys, that's a dangerous place to be. Here's another one that's a bit of a pet peeve for me. A lot of investors have come to the island assuming that nightly rates will rise forever. And that's just not true. And we've seen that over the last couple of years. I think they peaked maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago. And maybe they will go up again once the economy gets stronger. But it's not going to always go up and to the right. It's going to pull back. Airbnb is the same as any other investment, guys. You have peaks and valleys. And right now we've got a whole lot of that kind of product on the market on the island. And we're seeing nightly rates come down. And here's the truth. When you buy based on those projections on Airbnb, when tourism starts to go down and there's a correction, your values go down quickly and those properties get squeezed the fastest. Number 6, let's go bullish. Isabela they've got tourism, they've got local demand, and some of the prettiest coastline on the entire island. And we're talking about lifestyle migration, really good food, so the restaurants are tremendous, oceanfront scarcity, and we see value add opportunities there. And guys, this is a lower entry price than another one that was on the list earlier, Rincón. What we've seen over the last few years in Isabela is that the momentum is real. Families want to move there. People who are coming to the island from the mainland, they're showing up and looking to get outside of San Juan and find the beautiful parts of the island. And I'm not sure that there's anything more beautiful than the coastline in Isabela. And for me, that's a solid long-term play because the prices are still pretty reasonable and you've got some upside. Here's the one area that I believe won't crash, in my humble opinion. This is the safest real estate play on the island of Puerto Rico. Workforce housing and affordable long-term rentals. I'm talking about homes that regular people can afford. And here's why this market's not going to crash. People need homes in every economy. And right now, we have a huge housing shortage. The demand way exceeds the supply. There's still strong government incentives, and rental income has been very stable. And the local population, they're not leaving this segment. So that means that you, the local real estate investor, can still go out there and buy the value add properties, fix them up, and provide long-term housing for regular people. And guys, there's tax advantages to this as well. So this is why I'm so excited and think that this portion isn't going to crash. And we are deploying a lot of capital in this play right now. By providing long-term housing, you get to collect that rental income and pay zero tax. And it's not a part of Act 60, and you don't have to jump through any hoops. All you have to do is provide long-term housing, rent it to people who call the place home, and then fill out your Puerto Rico tax returns. And when you do, you make sure that your accountant puts all of your rental income on exempt rental income. And therefore, that money will be tax-free for you from now through 2040. And it's likely to get extended again unless something big changes, because the island rewards those who are providing houses for people, especially when there's a housing shortage. So there's a big housing shortage. 250,000 homes is what they say. And here's the good news. There's over 300,000 zombie houses on the island. So if you, the local real estate investor, can figure out how to buy one of those from your neighbors, your families, your friends, you can fix them up, provide this style of housing, and it doesn't cost you a ton, but you get to make that income completely tax-free. What's better than that? This segment survives everything. 2008 proved it, and then 2020 proved it again. And the island of Puerto Rico proves it every single year. Guys, if you want more real estate advice like this, hit subscribe. And if you want to learn how to actually find deals, maybe become a real estate investor, and network with other like-minded real estate investors, just comment yes here in the comments of the video, and I'll personally send you the link to join our free community, the Flip Flop Flipper Real Estate Investment Community.